I want to become a voice actor. And I've finally recorded some lines. Just the ones for some extras, but lines nonetheless. Now that the trailer has been dropped, I'm happy to start talking about some of the stuff I've been doing. First, the project itself, Persona 3 movie fan dub. Technically, I didn't actually get a role for the first film, but the second one, which we haven't started work on yet, but I'll keep you posted. However, smart thinking on the director's part, he decided to do the casting for the second movie whilst the first one was getting started, trying to lock in voice actors well in advance, which thankfully meant I had the opportunity to voice the various extras in the first movie. So, now that I've actually finally voiced something other than an audition, I thought it would be nice to walk through what my process was, what the editor wanted, and some of the challenges I faced. First off, since I got a comment in the last voice acting video, I'll go over my tech again. For recording, I use a Blue Snowball microphone, a fairly old model, at this point over 10 years old, but it still holds up quite well. That is to say, it held up quite well up until a short while ago when I went to record the script for my last vlog video, and it sounded like this. Hello? Now, this was a little concerning, but because I was on a tight deadline, I decided to move on and use my singing/music mic to record the script. Same with the learning Chinese video. The sound quality isn't noticeably worse, but I do find it a bit less full, I guess the word would be. All that is to say that, at least when I recorded the lines, my setup was my Blue Snowball microphone, a Blue Snowball pop filter which goes over the microphone to reduce the impact of harsh P and S sounds. On another side note, for the longest time, also in previous videos, I was calling it a spit guard until someone corrected me. All this was then attached to an adjustable mic stand which allowed me to sit up, or if necessary, stand up straight as I delivered my lines. Previously, for auditions, I had put some soft stuff, normally a jumper or two or a blanket, to absorb some of the reverberating sound, but after I got the pop filter, that became unnecessary. On the software side, I use Audacity. Yep, that's it. Good old Audacity, free and reliable as ever. Now, I had two types of takes when I was recording, and while I recorded many more extras than these, I'll show you these two examples. Heck, I'll even match them to the video, though this definitely is not indicative of the quality of the fan dub. Our editor is quite good and does some solid audio mixing. I, on the other hand, will just be layering the takes on top of the scene with no regard to sound effects, background music, or anything like that.
So anyway, he was still talking back, so I got pissed too. I think you kids took a wrong turn somewhere. Huh? You've got spunk, little girl. Die, you ass! Too late for that. You're going down too. Don't act like you're hot shit. You're that Aragaki guy, aren't you? You trying to get on our bad side?
This was one of my earlier recordings, and it was recorded much like how I showed it here, in bits and bobs. I would follow the reference video, find where the character started talking, found the corresponding line in the script, and did takes of that line until I was satisfied. Then I'd move on to the next one. If there were grunts or anything like that, I'd record those as well. All separate recordings for the individual lines or sounds. This thug had 9 individual sections that were recorded. Contrast this with this scene.
Wait, what? Huh? 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 What's going on? Is this some kind of messed up joke, you guys?
After doing a few recordings of extras using the first method, I moved into my favoured method, and one that more matched how I thought actual anime voice acting was done. A single take, done along with and in time with the scene being acted. This was harder, but it also felt more consistent voice-wise, in regards to volume and tone and all of that stuff. The biggest challenge with this though was getting the timing right. I'd watch through the scene a few times first, saying the lines as the character spoke, Then once I was partially comfortable with the timing, I would run the scene and record it for real. Even then, it usually took at least 3 takes without anything other than my short-term memory to go off of. I usually messed the timing on the line depending on the length of the scene. My guess is, and this is without looking into it first, when actual voice actors do this, they probably have some sort of indicator that they're about to speak before their actual line is supposed to be said. Well, this video may end up coming up a little short, so I should take the opportunity to validate that guess. Heck, maybe I'll learn something for my next recordings. Now, from what I gathered, there's some difference between voicing for and dubbing for. Well, what does that mean? If you want the actors that voice act for something like Pixar, and I could be wrong on this one, but it appears as though the script reading is the focus, then it'd be safe to assume that the animators alter the visuals to fit with the lip flaps. Funnily enough, the other project I've been cast for but haven't recorded any lines for yet would fit into this category. This isn't how anime is dubbed though, and for that there's a super useful video by Vanity Fair which breaks down the English dubbing process for Pokemon. I would highly recommend watching the video, and I'll link it in the description, but the short of it is this. The scene starts to play, there's an indicator that the voice actor's line is coming up, in this instance 3 beeps, then the voice actor has both the script and the scene playing out in front of them and does a couple of passes to get the timing correct on their lines and/or their reaction noises. So my guess was pretty much on the money, the speaking indicator in this circumstance being the 3 beeps. The video does seem to indicate that the length of a recorded section is shorter than my long one-take types, but often longer than my individual line recordings that I did for the Thugs, somewhere between the two. If you want more of an idea on the Japanese side of things, CDogVA has a great video about becoming a voice actor in Japan, and the main differences appear to be that while dubbing over completed animations like English dubs for Japanese anime, you have to try and match the flaps. The original voice actors have to match the timing, but the lip flaps aren't animated yet. In fact, much of a scene isn't animated yet, and the VAs are often working with the basic, almost storyboard-esque type drawings. Also, what seems to be different is that multiple VAs record at the same time, while English dubbing seems to be a predominantly solo affair. Alright, that valuable little learning aside, let's get into the unifying features of how I record both styles of take. In the physical realm, and take my techniques with a grain of salt, they're based off my limited learning and my experience with singing. First off, sitting or standing. Make sure that you're keeping yourself upright, not hunched over. You want to have a clear airway and to be able to project your voice. I find this true of most things, public speaking, singing, and yes, voice acting. The exception to this is if your body language would affect the delivery of a line in an intentional way. For example, for the audition that I did where I was playing a mentally unstable individual, I did change my posture to be more withdrawn, like how I'd imagine the character to be, in order to get that change into my voice. As for how I spoke into my mic, and this was something that I learned, to decrease the risk of having the hard P's and S's, instead of speaking into the mic straight on, I have a mic angled slightly, just a little bit away, like this. For this next section, I won't do my usual touch-ups to the audio so you get the full difference. Check out the difference when speaking directly into the mic, properly preparing some such S and proper P's, and alternatively when the mic is angled slightly away. Next, before speaking, make sure you're properly hydrated, but not overly hydrated either. When your mouth is overly dry, your saliva can tend to make these sort of squishy sounds as you move your mouth. You don't want those. The same issue can occur when you're well watered too, so try and find that balance. I've also heard, though I haven't tried it yet myself, that pineapple can help remove those sort of sticky sounds. But it's something that I've heard from multiple sources, so there's probably something behind it. The final thing is to have a pre-phrase before actually doing the recording. This means before you actually start recording the audio, say some stuff in prep. This is because, and you may notice it at the start of my videos, the first things that you say into the mic will generally be louder or stronger than the rest of the line. If you pre-say some stuff before starting the recording, that effect is lessened. While during voice acting takes, I would count myself in something like 3, 2, 1, okay. But when I'm recording video scripts, I'll often say the few words before the line that I start on to try and match the tone. Now, when I'm done recording my takes, I do a little touching up. Let me run through them. First off, I'll do a general noise reduction, first selecting a section where I'm not actively speaking and using that to set the noise profile. Then I select the entirety of the recording and apply the noise reduction. Next, I'll do an initial listen through, and this is where I'll do a few corrections. The easy one is decreasing gaps to have a negative amplification, essentially silencing them. I made extra sure to do this during those longer one-take recordings since they generally had long gaps of empty space. Another thing I'll look for is for any peaks or pops, and applying a clip fix, finding the start and the end of the specific offending syllable and implementing it there. That'll change something like this, "Pop goes the weasel," to "Pop goes the weasel." One thing I'll do less of is to find anything that is overly loud, like strangely louder than the surrounding parts, and I'll decrease its amplification just a little bit, making sure that I haven't brought it so far down that it doesn't match the surrounding audio. Finally, when it's all done, I'll amplify everything around 1.5 decibels below its maximum, without clipping. That is because my mic runs a little quiet. Once again, I'll give you an example. This line is recorded without any amplification. This one has amplification. Those are generally the things that I apply to my audio in order to clean and enhance it before submitting it. For overall comparison, here's a line with no adjustments whatsoever, just the raw recording. "Hello, my name is Blobbit. Catch me at twitch.tv/BlobbittMcNugget." And the same line with adjustments. "Hello, my name is Blobbit. Catch me at twitch.tv/BlobbittMcNugget." Alright, my lines are recorded, I've saved them as MP3s. MP3s aren't amazing as a format, but they were what the editor wanted. We don't need to get into audio file types here, I'm just trying to accommodate the editor. Now I get to naming. What the editor wanted was timestamps, which is completely understandable. So I named my characters illustrious names like Thug1, and then had the timestamps down to the second. For the multi-takes, I split up the takes into individual timestamps and put them all in a folder for each character. And for the long single takes, I just put the timestamp where the recording started so that it would line up. And there's the entirety of my amateur voice acting experience, at least so far. I guess I'll hint at the character that I'm playing in the next movie. I hope that you are looking forward to it, though you may be waiting for a while. I'm very excited to finally get to voice the character, though it'll probably be a fair while longer until the second movie is finally started. Now, just a little bit of cleanup. I was hoping to apply for 10 more roles by this video's release, but due to my mic breaking, that didn't end up happening. Unfortunately, this leads to 2 paths. 1, try and fix the mic, or 2, time to get a new one. I'm leaning a little bit more towards number 2. If I get a more modern version of the blue snowball, once again noting that the one I was using was well over 10 years old, I'll likely be able to get it for under $70 redues, though I should take the opportunity to do some research to look into what other mics may better suit my needs. Once I have the mic, I can once again start applying for roles, so I'll apply for those 10 that I said I would last video. If you're interested in the FanDub project, I'll leave a link to the trailer down in the description, so please check it out. I'll definitely be putting the word out when the final project is released, so if you're interested or interested in seeing my next voice acting video, subscribe to stay notified. If you have any suggestions for microphones or even features for microphones, leave a comment down below. I'm always keen to hear suggestions from those with potentially a bit more experience than I do. After all, it's we attempt new things, not I attempt new things. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fruitful day.